there was a job offer at the mental institute in my hospital in my hometown area. The job title was simply put as the listener, which really interested me as I was a great listener who was always understanding and I never judged anyone. Although my chances of being employed were really low because I didn't have a degree, but I was definitely surprised when I got a phone call back from the hospital. The job was simple, which was to listen to the mentally sick patients who were all suffering from some form of mental illness. They were all deemed insane. Not many of the doctors or workers in this hospital were ever smiling, and I tried smiling and saying hello to a few of them, but I got no reply. That first day was just to familiarize with myself in the mental institute hospital, to prepare myself really to where I was going to work. The next day I was to start listening to basically insane people. I wasn't going to analyze or try to work it out what was wrong with them, but that all I had to do was to listen to them. I remember the first guy who had lost his mind. I went to his room and the door was shut but never locked. As soon as he saw me, Roger, the insane guy's name, had started talking to himself, and I had a chair to sit down. I just listened to Roger talking to himself for 1 whole hour. I listened to Roger's paranoia, fear, and that he was talking to himself. I then went to another room where an insane woman was kept. She just went on and on about random things. Sometimes she will cry and other times she was suddenly happy. She would talk to me about how the world was a horrible place at one moment, and the other moment the world was an amazing place. I had talked with 5 other people in the mental problems. It took a lot of patience to let me tell you that. Even though my job was just to listen to these people, I felt really hard to keep on listening to the ramblings of insane people. They talked about random impossible things and they actually believed themselves. I did feel myself at times getting a little hot-headed and annoyed. After 2 months at the job, something started happening to me. Every night I went to bed, I could hear the voices of every insane person I had listened to for each day. I just had to learn to get used to it, really. And sometimes I would just listen to the voices and just try to understand what they were trying to say to me. People with mental disabilities have this endurance to keep on talking and talking for so many hours on end. They don't have the realization to stop, as they don't feel any form of embarrassment or stupidity. Then, when I was 4 months into my job, something more stranger happened to me. Instead of hearing the voices of the patients I had talked with for each day I went to bed, I would hear things that I had never listened to or that came out of any of the insane people's mouths I had listened to. Then I went into the work, and everything that I had heard at night that never came out of anyone's mouth I had listened to was now being spoken to me by the insane patients. It's like I had heard the future. Every night from then on, I would hear things that not that I had heard from the insane patient's mouth before, but I would hear things now which were gonna be spoken to me by the insane patients in the future. It was mind-numbing, and I wanted to an explanation. I needed not to speak to anyone, as I would have sounded. Then, my friends, family, and other loved ones were getting annoyed with me as I was beginning to blabber on myself about random things, from small things as well. They would beg me to stop, but I never realized I was doing it, so I couldn't help. I decided to speak to my manager about it, who is also a doctor at the mental hospital where I work. One day, my manager wasn't in the room, but his room was open and the file cupboard was also open. The file's name would caught my attention, had the title Past Listeners. As I checked throughout the file, what I found horrified me, and every cell in my body froze. Some of the past listeners on the file were now insane people I had listened to in the past. Even the past listener I didn't recognize, I had found the room where they were staying at in this hospital. Then something went through my mind. I am hearing things in my mind every night. I am starting to blabber on and not making sense, as well as not being aware of it. I am losing the ability to observe and understand my surroundings, and every patient in this mental hospital was once a listener like me. After reading that file, I went straight home and haven't gone back there, even though the hospital has been calling me. I still do those strange things though. I cannot help it, and most people get annoyed being around me now and are talking about it behind my back, but I always fail to realize at the time I really need the help.